I want to use this moment to welcome our guests from the CSA. I want to say our friends from the CSA. Believe it or not, when I was preparing this meeting, I'm here in my 5th year. This is the 4th president I deal with, the 5th COO general secretary I deal with, and the 3rd coach I deal with. So I want to welcome the president of the CSA, Peter Augruso, the CEO, Kevin Blue, and Jesse Marsch. I also want to say, with what I just said, that I became an expert about the executives on the CSA side and about the challenges and also how people have approached this job. I never have felt so good about where we are at and where we are going with soccer in this country, led by the CSA. I have never been that optimistic, and I want to say thank you to all of you. And even this, that you all come here to Vancouver right after your game, you travel the next day. A lot of coaches, a lot of people would take off after that and recover from that you come here and you stay here full 4 days, almost 3.5, 4 days, and spend a lot of time. They have been yesterday at our staff event and have addressed a welcome to our staff. This is unique. This also shows how we are getting closer together and how we all work on making this sport more important, better, and prepared for the World Cup in 2026. So welcome to Vancouver. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Okay, so we
Hi, Harv with Daily Hive. My question is for Jesse Marsch. You represent the men's national team, so that's a big deal. You represent all of Canada. With that being said, when would you like to see, or when can we expect to see the national team play a game in Vancouver at BC Place? Because it's been a very long time.
Yeah, I had almost the identical question when I was in Montreal. I think, first of all, it's great to be here. Thanks for the introduction. It's been a real pleasure to be the Canadian national team coach. Vanni and I know each other. He was my instructor in my coaching course, and he passed me, so thank you for doing that. And you're doing a great job here, and congratulations. It's fun to watch your team. Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to be doing a lot of things in the future in preparation for what the experience will be like in 2026 for our fans. And one of the things that I really want to get out to our fans and to the Canadian people is that we really want to make this the people's team. We want the accessibility of our players. We want accessibility of the team. We want to do things in the community. We want to make sure that these players are role models and an inspiration for the next generation of players in Canada. And certainly with the World Cup coming around in 2026, we know what an opportunity we have in front of us. So there's already been lots of discussion. Like I would say the first step is we need to play a game at home, because I've played 10 matches away from home. So we're really excited even to just play Panama in Toronto. But we don't just think about it as Toronto as our national stadium and our national training center. We want to make sure that we're doing a better job of reaching out to other communities, and certainly Vancouver's a big part of that, especially considering we're going to play 2 group phase matches here in the World Cup. So yeah, that it'll be coming. I know that. We barely have windows scheduled. Okay, so I would like to tell you exactly when, but all I can tell you is not October.
Felipe from Northern Tribune. My questions are directed to Jesse. Jesse, welcome to Vancouver. I feel like you must have expected coming here. Questions will be surrounding around Ali, given that he's the hometown boy. What have you made of his career so far, especially under your leadership of the team and what he's done in Vancouver, and what gave you the first sort of inspiration to call him into the national team and see what he's been able to do with them?
Yeah, look, I didn't call him to Europe, but partly because while we were in Europe, I wanted to look at a few more European players. But I always had it in my mind that he would be a candidate to come to Copa America. He didn't get to play a ton in Copa America until we played Uruguay when he started, and I thought he had a really good match. And then, all the players, when we left Copa America, I challenged them to try to be more physically present in the matches that they played in. Even knowing that, every coach has a different vision for how they want to play the game. But I've tried to encourage all the players to just sprint more, to win more duels, to win more balls, to be more dynamic in matches. And I could watch Ali over the last month and a half and see that this part of his game was progressing. And I told Vanni that the last match I saw him play against Austin, I thought he played really well. And I already had in my mind that he was going to play a big role in this window. And then I think he obviously performed well in both matches. So I'm really happy for him. I think he's still young and has a lot of room and potential to continue to grow. And that will be, I think, the job of when he's with us, but also to continue to challenge him when he's with Vanni to continue to improve and push himself.
And then as a follow-up, talking about, you mentioned after the game against Mexico that it's sort of a testament to how far your team has come, that teams are willing to sit in those low blocks and be physical and break up play, being the team that's being feared. What do you think are the sort of next steps for the players to adopt the mentality of, you're not the underdog anymore. We are the team that can be the top dog, that can be feared. What do you want them to, you mentioned challenging them. What do you challenge them to try to get to that mentality of we can be top dogs?
No, well, first of all, you're right. There has been a dialogue about being the underdog and a chip on the shoulder, which I think has served them well. But I've tried to say to them, now it's we belong, and we need to show every day and prove to ourselves more than anyone else every day that we can be a really good team. And I think that it hasn't taken a lot of convincing to make them believe that. They know that. They know they're a good team. We have a lot of players now playing at big clubs in Europe, a lot of players that are performing really well in MLS. And so I think collectively they expect to win matches. Like, there was disappointment after the Mexico game that we didn't win. And I had staff members coming to me and saying, look, this is, in the past, a draw against Mexico in a pro-Mexico environment would have been a really good result. In general, my ambition with the team is to develop a team that comes 2026 that can be dominant, right? Not just successful and not just get out of the group or win a World Cup match, but be dominant. And we're working toward that every day, and I'm optimistic that we can get to that.
Hi, Barry DeLay with Global TV. You haven't been with the team that long, and sometimes it takes coaches and teams a while to mesh, but it seemed almost instantaneous with you guys. Why do you think it's worked so well with this group and you?
Well, first, the group is really strong, right? It hasn't been, sometimes you come in as a coach and you know that there's a lot of work to be done on the mentality of the group and their work ethic and things like this, and you can gain some ground there, but that part has almost been seamless. And so for me, it's just been about trying to communicate clearly exactly what I want us to look like as a football team, and tactically how I want us to play, and what kind of behaviors I want the players to have. And I think we've tried, through my experiences of being at different places, I've kind of learned what certain touch points are and how to communicate things clearly. And then they've responded really well. And I think they believe in the things that we're trying to do with them. And that's, look, I could go through the checklists of why I took the job. But one of the main ones was because the way I think about football and the potential of the player pool and their qualities that they have, I think fit well together. And so that was a big motivating factor and a big belief that I had that I could help this team, that the things that I believe in and that I value could be things that would reward this group of players in a big way. And that's turned out to be the case.
Are they maybe? I mean, they're trying to find a coach that could obviously take this team to the next level. Did you feel that they're even have more potential than you even thought they had when you first saw them from afar, or having this look now for a few months, has that changed much?
Well, I think what I've learned is that they're smarter and that the process has gone quicker than I thought it would. But with that then comes higher standards. Right? So, and that's what I keep saying to them. The more that they keep showing me that they're up for the challenge, of course, I'm congratulating them and saying, keep going, you're doing a good job. But I said, then every time I have to recalibrate what the next time we're together needs to look like and how we need to keep pushing. And what a wonderful experience and process to be a part of as a professional athlete, right? Is to feel that you're on the right path and that you can do even more. So that's what I think that's my job right now, is to just the demands, to keep raising the level of the demands.
Hi, Jesse. JJ Adams from the Vancouver province. I was just curious, you've had a few months on the job now.
I've had a few jobs too.
A few jobs. I was going to say, you have a long list of coaching under your belt. What has been the biggest difference for you being a national team head coach as opposed to a professional head coach?
Well, it would involve two parts. It would, let's just first talk about not the team and talk about the sport and the country and being a figurehead in the federation. It's a big responsibility that I take very seriously, and I appreciate you saying that we've come here, every now window we've spent time before and after and tried to invest in relationships and in people in the country. I've been trying to gather information, hear from important football people, like what they think has gone well, what things we think we need to do for the future to continue to grow the sport. And we need to be, in all ways, as a CSA, we need to be a representation of all the possibilities of things we can create. Kevin Blue, like we mentioned, is here with me today, same with Peter Arguso. And our job is really to I think, continue to create a foundation for what it means to be a national team, to build a more robust youth system, to give more touch points for young players and coaches, to have an experience of what we're trying to create with the first team and what we're trying to achieve with the sport in the country. So that's like another full-time job. And then, look, with the players, it's evaluating players, and then it's like giving them the clues as to what I think they can do to improve their careers. And that's, I have a wealth of experiences now, coaching at different countries, working with different players from different countries, working with high potential individuals. And I think we have a lot of those kinds of people and players, high performance people in the team, that if we can encourage them the right way and then continue to build from underneath, we can build something really special here from a national team perspective and have big dreams and hopes. So there's still so much work to be done, but that's really a big part of it, is just trying to have the finger on the pulse of what's happening and how can I and the CSA, how can we help to keep pushing the envelope?
This is a different kind of World Cup qualifying for the team as opposed to last one, because you're in as a host country. You mentioned that you haven't really scheduled anything. What is that roadmap to 2026? What is your priorities? How do you envision that next year kind of playing out?
I'm being a little facetious. We have a bit of a plan of what we're going to be doing in the windows, but I mean, it is a challenge, right? It is a challenge. Like, I saw Mexico's playing Valencia, I think, next window, because trying to find opponents. And one of the things we were considering is would we play Mexico again the first match of the next window, but it just didn't make any sense for us, right? So, and for Mexico, I think, felt the same. So, yeah, there's certain confederations around the world that have, qualifying in tournaments at certain times, and so we have to kind of match our window and our desire to do certain things and find good opponents with also wanting to play at, do we play on away? Do we play at home? Where do we play at home? How do we get opponents here and there, and then financially securing the schedule? In the end, what I want is to play the best opponents we possibly can. Like, that's what we've done so far, and I don't want to look back and go, okay, now let's start scheduling Caribbean, and nothing against that. But I think for us as a footballing nation, we have to have our sights set really high, and we have to try to find the best opponents we can. And I think there's opportunities because there are countries and opponents that want to come to North America before the World Cup as part of their preparation and hoping that they will qualify. So, there will be more and more announcements about where we're going with that, but we have a little bit of a framework, but more work to do to secure the things that we need. Yeah, it's one of many headaches, but it's good. It's all good. We'll get good opponents, I'm sure of it.
Hi, Jesse. I'm Gemma Carson-Smith from the Canadian Press. I wanted to talk a little bit about what your relationship is like with the various coaches, like Vanni, with guys on the national team. How does that? What does that relationship look like as you're trying to develop these young players and trying to get the most out of them?
Look, even if you talk the CPL, if you talk the private clubs that with coaches and directors that I've met with, if you talk to MLS clubs that I've met with and gotten to know, and obviously we have a lot of them underneath all of these things, our relationships, even for Axel and I, we know a lot of the same people in Germany. Wir haben ein bisschen auf Deutsch gesprochen, aber nicht so viel. And so, un poco in Italiano. Yeah, I think that obviously we all have our own worlds that we work in. But I do think that there is a responsibility even that they feel about, running a good club and what it means to the sport in the country here. And trying to connect the dots is going to be vital, I think, for everybody moving forward to help move the game forward. We've had a lot of discussions even today and yesterday about, style of play and developing young players and what do academies look like and what can the CSA provide. And, we all, I think, have a similar version of what we'd like to see. And then, it's good for me to hear that we're aligned in a lot of ways, because then it's even more helpful for me to feel like we have the power to help affect change in the country as a CSA, and then how it affects the relationships that we have with each other. Look, here's one of the best things that I can say about the relationship that we've had so far is Sam Adekugbe was planned to come in. He picked up a little bit of an injury. We didn't feel like it was right to bring him in when he wasn't fully fit, but then he was fit enough to be available for the match on the weekend, and we wanted him to play and be available, so they reached out, and then we made sure that the communication was such that we gave permission for him to play. And then after that, he played 30 minutes. Yep. Then after that, we said, hey, can we bring him in and make him part of our second match? And they were great about it, said, yeah, let's get him over there and see if he can play a few minutes or at least be part of the team. And then he can come back and be ready for the match on the weekend. So Sam was really good about it. And he was, obviously he really wants to be part of the national team program. And I think the relationships that we had in the process of making sure that we put Sam in position to succeed, which is most important, were really pretty simple and seamless. So, I think that's our roles, is to obviously help our teams be successful, but do it in a way where we set the players up for success and the communication and infrastructure of what we're trying to achieve up for success.
You've talked a lot today about growing the game. I think for some soccer fans in Canada, there's a bit of a disconnect where they want to support these teams that have done so well on the field recently, and being a little bit wary of the association and some of the things that have gone on behind the scenes. What do you say to those fans about how to support soccer in Canada with everything that's happening?
Yeah, look, it's been difficult for us too, right, to figure out, with an investigation going on and how to continue to gather momentum. For me, all I can say is, the players, our players have been fabulous at not being distracted by, whether it's drones or CBAs or anything that could potentially be used as excuses for why we wouldn't perform. There's been none of that, with just coming into camp, working hard for the team, trying to build toward this vision of what we want to be for 2026. I think that's such a motivating factor right now inside the team. And I would say this from my exposure to the women's team as well, you're talking about incredible athletes with incredible character that have shown that even under difficulty and stress, both the men and the women, because when we went to Copa America, the kinds of opponents and the way we were treated, and that they stand up strong and tall in difficult moments. And if I'm a fan of anything, that's what I love to see, is a team that is really strong and unified together and willing to do whatever it takes to be their best. And I can say we have that here in this country, and that they should be really, really proud of their athletes and their teams. And we are going to continue to grow as an association. I mean, we have the right people in places. I appreciate Axel saying that from the beginning. I haven't been here always. I was here for a little bit in Montreal. I'm really happy to be here, and I know I'm surrounded by very competent, professional people with high levels of integrity. And that's going to help us build something really special for years to come. Do you get... why am I doing all the talking here, man? Does Vanni get to talk at all? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, guys. Next two questions are for Jesse.
Yeah.
Alex Kangaruzak, One Soccer, Northern Football. Jesse,
What's up?
Ali's obviously made a very unique journey to where he is. Another one of those late bloomers like you've seen with the likes of Moyes, Tanny, et cetera, on the national team.
Yeah.
I guess first for Ali, he's just 23, even though he's kind of burst onto the scene as of late. What do you see as his ceiling, and what are maybe some things you're challenging him to do now with the Whitecaps, now that you've seen what he can do with the national team?
Yeah, and so that's a good question, and I think everybody here is now really proud of Ali and how he's been playing. I used Moyes before as an example of we've got to be able to identify players younger, and we've got to be able to challenge them and integrate them at a younger age. I think we're all aligned with that. And then, pushing him, like I've said, physically now to make sure that he can maximize his potential as an athlete. And he has a lot of the qualities and intelligence of a footballer, tactically, he's technically gifted, and I've told him he's got to get in the gym more. I've told, there's a lot of these little things where too many guys still, they look like kids, and we need to help them look like men and play like men. And that's what the highest standards of the game are about. So look, Ali's on a clear, good trajectory, and I expect him to, be ready for this weekend and in all ways continue to push his career. But this is the message to every player that we've worked with is, this is what it's like when you're with the national team. This is what it can look like for you individually. How can you put it to practice with your career and even with your club teams in a way that fits with what Vanni's asking of you, what I'm asking of you, and put together an idea of development that can help him launch his career in a bigger and better way.
Of course, you're out here in British Columbia. Back in the day, BC used to kind of be a hub for the national team in terms of producing players. Now it's just, one recently with Joel. I guess what do you make of that, and how important is it to ensure there's less players falling through the cracks like there have been through the years? I know it helps now to have 2 CPL teams, League One, et cetera. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, look, I went to Edmonton to the PDP championships, and there were quite a few teams from Vancouver out there, and there were good teams, and they were well coached, and so I know there's talent in the area. The academies here, I think, has done a good job always of finding good players. I think there's a really good coach. Even I saw Rico Clark here. And I know coaching him and playing against him that he's a very serious football person. So I think there's a lot of good people in the club and in the community working to help elevate the game. So I'm confident that we'll continue to find the right kinds of players here. And then I'm just, again, trying to figure out as a CSA, how do we continue to build a robust relationship, robust youth national team system, good communication from a coaching perspective, playing perspective, training perspective. How do we kind of push the level every day with everything and with the relationships we have and everything we do? So, but look, there's a lot of good things happening here already, no doubt.
Michael McCall, AFTN. Jesse, Hi. When you look at the Jesse Marsch that came in to Montreal in 2011, to the Jesse Marsch, the coach that you are now, how have you seen yourself change and develop? And could you ever have envisaged 12 years ago that you'd be the head coach of the national team?
I haven't really thought about that much. And I would say I was a very young coach back then. And I was very thankful that Joey Saputo and Nick DeSantis and everybody at the Montreal Impact gave me the opportunity. I didn't fully really know what coming to Canada was going to be and what the infrastructure of the sport was like. I knew I had to learn French, that was going to be important, and I think my French was awful, and I'm trying to get better at it still. But I was really thankful for the experience, and it taught me a lot. Being an expansion team was very difficult. I had to adjust and learn quickly in all ways. I was proud of the team that we built, and I was proud of the way the team played. But now I've evolved a lot as a coach and as a person and as a leader, and I think I'm much more sure of who I am and what I believe is important, and how to build teams and how to enforce the kinds of things that I think will be important for teams to be successful. So, and this is, I think, to be a national team. Look, one of the reasons why I even went to Europe instead of pursuing maybe the U.S. national team at that time was because I knew I had so much to learn, and that adventure I went on in Europe, I think, taught me so much and challenged me in big ways. So I think I'm able to bring all of that here as a national team coach, and hopefully help. I think it's shown already that we've been able to help the team perform at a high level. And again, I want to help. I want to use my experiences when asked and when considered to help also build the sport here in this country.
And I want to say he also had me as an instructor. He said it before. That's the reason why he improved a lot.
Yeah. I forgot to mention
that. This question's for all three of you. So
good.
I'll start with Axel. Might want to answer this first, because Jesse might have a different viewpoint from it. We saw at the weekend 6 players, 5-6 players away from the team on international duty. LAFC were hit. Columbus kind of hit in different ways for stuff as well. Over in the UK, if you've got 3 players away on international duty, the game is called off.
In the championship, right?
Well,
or in League One?
Even in my team, it's like my team's...
What's your team?
In Scotland, my team's these 5. But in England, it was AFC Wimbledon.
Okay.
So they had 3 players away at the weekend, and their game was called off.
Yeah.
Is that something that MLS should be pushing for if they're playing over the international dates? If teams have 3 or more players away, that the games get called off for the good of the league, the good of the teams?
Yeah, so first of all, of course, there are some things that are very logical, sound very logical, look very logical, and it sounds like it's an easy answer. No one wants to play with 6-7 players out. No team. It doesn't matter if it is the Whitecaps, if it is Columbus, LA, or whoever. No one wants to do this. So, but I have huge respect to those guys who have to build a schedule, because it's not easy. I can say that the schedule is determined, is that the right word, by so many different factors, including stadium availability. It's also one of the factors, obviously. And so the outcome of all of this is that sometimes there is no other option. So now you can say easily, yeah, we should not play the game, but if there is no other option, if there is no other date at the end available, then what should you do? Not playing the game. So we live in the reality of this still, and our calendar is completely different because our calendar is not aligned to the European calendar, what is at the same time more or less the UEFA and FIFA calendar. So where the national team windows have been aligned to, because the majority of the world is playing in a different calendar, so obviously the national teams are following the majority. So said all of this, it's not ideal. It's something we all discuss on a consistent basis on every level with MLS, with the associations, with even FIFA. And we have a work in progress. We just had with MLS a lot of pod meetings with only 3 clubs always together, then a single meeting with MLS about ideas how we can change things, what can we do, and what are also the limitations to what we can do. And so I'm optimistic that we will get to a better solution at some point, but this better solution then will come with maybe some other challenges that then in other markets people don't like. So that's what the balance has to be. But we all agree, and that's probably the main driver why we want to change this. If we want to improve the product of MLS, if we want to say that our games the product that the people see is growing and becoming better, it's obviously not helpful if a club like ours plays in 20% of the seasonal games, not with the best players available because of Copa, because of international windows. So obviously something we have to solve, not easy to solve, easy to blame. And it goes back to something that he said, and now I have to say it only for our club, with credit to everyone who is working here. Never, at any point in this season, also in the last season, but they are over, anyone in our organization has used it as an excuse. And that you have seen on the pitch last Saturday. That's the outcome of it. So not using anything as an excuse, he said it also before on other topics for him and his team, not using anything as an excuse, discussions outside or lacking players, is the only thing how we can deal with it right now, and then to make the best out of the situation. I have to give credit to everyone in our organization, because the game last Saturday was a very good example for that, how you have to deal with such situations. Let's Vanni talk.
I think on the other way around. So, of course, it's kind of, I don't know, a little problem sometimes to have not the players for 3-4 games, during the season. Because, maybe there's the Copa America or there's the Gold Cup, and you miss the players for 3-4 games. At the end, you miss the player for 5-6 games. But the national team call-up, representing the national team, is such an important thing for every player. That is such a stimulus for a player, is a reward for a player, that because we have players that are close to get to the national team, we had the development of a lot of players that has been faster, better, bigger than it would have been if they wouldn't be called. The Canadian guys, Ali, for example, if Ali wouldn't be in the national team program and having the idea of becoming a national team player, of course that fuels him inside to say, hey, I want to be a better player. I want to get to that stage. I want to be in the international stage. I want to be there and I want to be better. Sam, everybody knows the little problem that he had with the injury and everything all this year. The fact that he's pushing. A big thing is the fact that, okay, I want to keep my spot in the national team because I want to be in the World Cup and I want to be there. And that happens also with the other guys. The Pedro, the growth that he had is because he saw, I can play for Ecuador and I can be there. And at the end, I think it's a small price to pay. In another way, it's an opportunity. You've seen last games, some of the guys that didn't play, that played, and they did very well. At the end, we know that we are a little bit different than everybody else here in MLS, that we play on a calendar year instead of playing. We don't stop in the summer. We have the Leagues Cup that for a month the league stops, so you have to fill a lot of games when in other parts. So we know it, and I prefer to miss the player for one game because they are going to play high-level games in a high-level environment, and they come back. All the guys that came back this time, like Goldie, first time that played for the national team. Pedro played in the team that won against Peru. Andres, they beat Paraguay. Ali and Sam, after a very good window with Canada, they're all kind of regenerated. And so, at the end, it's just a small price to pay.
They should stop during the FIFA windows.
Yeah.
I'll do it simply.
Serena Patel from Vancouver Whitecaps. I don't know if you noticed, Vanni has a Voyageurs Cup tattoo on his forearm, and in a couple weeks.
It's my first trophy that I won, so
Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah, I mean,
In a couple of weeks, Toronto comes into town to play the Canadian Championship final. How important is this tournament for all Canadian players?
yeah, well, look, it's obviously important if he gets a tattoo.
it is.
Yeah, it's better on your arm than maybe some other places.
Well, for sure. Well, I don't know.
No, No, but I was at the Forge Toronto match, right? And this was a spirited match, and I think really great to see because I coached in that tournament when there were, I think we had 4 teams back then. It was the 3 MLS teams and then one team that would come almost like from an amateur status. So the fact that the tournament has grown and the fact that it's more difficult to win, I think will add to the prestige of it and add to people's desire to want to win it. And I love that there's more of a multi-tiered league system that adds to the storyline. So yeah, no, I'm excited for the final.